Hi crafty friends, it's Tanya here from Ink Responsibly, and today we're going to make this lovely camera box, and inside we'll house up to 2 mini albums or a mini album with room for photographs. And this is a really good introductory mini album. And this will hold approximately 20 to 25 photographs. And we have pockets either side, as well as a waterfall feature. So let's get started. So the first step is making the box. Now we need a piece of cardstock that measures 8 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches long. And we're going to begin by scoring on the short side at 1 inch and 7 1/4 inches. Then you're going to turn it and we're going to measure it at 4 3/4 and 6 1/4 inches. So this is what you're going to have. You're going to have 4 score lines, 2 on each direction. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut up each of these score lines like so, and then just take a small amount off each cut. And that's what we have. So fold and burnish along your score lines. And this is how our box is going to go together. So to put our glue on, I've got fast fuse on one piece, on one side of here and here. And then flipping the piece over, we're going to put glue along there and on our tabs. And to put our box together, fold up your long side and stick that to the tabs. Make sure that our corner meets nice and flush, and then fold our front piece along there, and there. Now it doesn't matter if you've got a little bit of glue sticking through, because we're going to cover that with some patterned paper. Now we'll just pop that off to the side and we're going to make our lid. Now to make our lid, we need a piece that measures 4 3/4 inches by 9 1/2, and I'm going to score on the short side first at 1 1/2 and 3 1/4. Then I'm going to turn it so the long side is at the top and score at 1 1/2 and at 8. And again, I'm going to cut on my long side. I'm going to cut up to where the score lines intersect and just miter that slightly. Again, cut straight up the score line and miter. And whatever we do to one side, we're going to repeat to the other. and just fold and burnish your score lines. Okay, now to put our lid together, apply fuse or glue to each of these square tabs on the edges, and we're going to match up this line with this score line. Like so. And that forms our lid for our box. Now we're going to place a little bit of DSP on our box. I'm using the True Gentleman DSP from Stampin' Up. It's a brand new paper pack that's come out with the Occasions catalogue. And you're just going to place your panels on front and back. Okay, so over here I have two pieces that measure 1 1/4 by 6 1/4. And what I'm going to do is just place a little bit of snail just to hold this in place. So just lightly tack that on. And then what I'm going to do, and you'll see that this comes up higher than the top of our box. So roughly 2 inches from the top in the center, I'm just going to place a mark on either side. And using a hole punch or a similar product, pop a hole where you've measured it. Okay? Pop your eyelets in and just set them into place. Okay, so now we have our eyelets in, and this is still sitting loose. This is another new product coming out in the Occasions catalogue. And you're going to just feed that through like so, and then staple your ribbon in place. Repeat to the other side. Feed it through. And staple. Now we can go ahead and secure our paper in place, and that will actually cover all of our workings of our staples. So we have no exposed staples. So there is our handle for our camera strap. So to create our lens, what I'm going to do is take an offcut of Night of Navy, and I'm going to punch a hole in one, and then I'm going to take my second largest circle die, the stitched circles, and I'm going to center that over the hole and cut one piece with the hole and cut another piece without the hole. So I have these two stitched circles, and then I'm going to take a piece of acetate and my 1 3/4 inch punch and punch out a circle. Now grab your fast fuse and pop some fast fuse around your the back of your stitched circle, and place your piece of acetate on top of that. And this is what we have. Okay, so to build up our lens, I've taken a 3/4 inch strip of my Stampin' Up! Box. Any box will do, providing it's got this nice corrugated element. Now pop some, this is 12 inches long, this piece. So grab some fast fuse. So once you have your fuse down, we're creating a circular piece that is slightly larger than the hole in your lens. And when you've got that measured, just wrap it around in a circle. Now using a strip of Night of Navy, we're going to cover our corrugated circle. And wrap that around and trim off any excess. Okay. Now with an offcut of my pattern paper from the front, we're going to wrap that around as well. There we are. So I'm going to pop some hot glue onto the corrugated cardstock. And while it's still wet, pop it down into place, keeping that circular shape. Now I'm going to stick down a 1 inch silver circle, and that will just pop inside of there. Now I've got two options. I can pop that straight down onto there and keep that as my lens, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some seed beads and a few sequins and pop them in and make a shaker element. So just pop in a few sequins and seed beads if you want to go with this. And a few beads. And now we can seal up our lens. And pop down the front of our lens. Now that condensation from the heat will go away. Right, now we can put our lens onto the front of our box. Now I like to just pop my lid on before I actually put the lens in place, and I try to keep my workings of my cardstock towards the bottom. So when I'm happy with the placement, I'll just do a light pencil mark and some hot glue. And put it in place. There you are. Now to make my little sentiment, I've layered up some black die cut words and glued one on top of the other, and I've done the final one in the copper foil cardstock. And I'm just going to put a little bit of fast fuse down and stick that onto my lens. Like that. So this was the word sunshine from the Sunshine Wishes framelit set, and I've just cut off the word sun and I have shine. So now to decorate the lid of our box, I have 2 strips. Now these measure 1 1/4 inches by 6 inches, and the side pieces are 1 1/4 by 1 1/2 inches, and they just glue in place. Now taking a strip of pattern paper, I'm going to just stick this on the top. And this measures 6 inches by 3/4 of an inch, and just pop that in the center of the top. There you are. So now we're going to build up our buttons for the top of our camera. So to do this, grab an offcut of cardstock, and you're going to need 2 1-inch circles and 2 3/4 of an inch circles. Now on one of them, just using a white gel pen, I'm going to place some markings. So there are our buttons. Now again, using some corrugated cardstock, we're just going to wind this up. Now this measures approximately 8 inches by 1/4 of an inch, and just keep putting some glue. You could use snail, Tombow or fast fuse, and keep winding that up. And there's one. So now with a piece of navy cardstock that measures roughly 3 inches by 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to cover my corrugated cardstock. And wrap that round. And just cut the excess off. Now with our other dial, I have a 6.5 inch or 6 inch strip of corrugated cardstock, and it's 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the smaller dial. Just roll it and glue it. Now if you want a wider dial, just have a longer strip of cardstock. And again, I just have an offcut that measures 1/2 inch wide of cardstock. And I'm going to cover my corrugated cardstock. And just trim off what you don't need. And once you have these done, using some hot glue, glue them down to the circles. So the 1/4 inch piece goes onto the 3/4 inch circle, and some glue for the top. Like so. And the 1/2 inch piece we're going to glue onto our 1 inch circle. And here are our 2 dials. So now they can go onto our camera box lid. And just glue them in place. One here. And the other one at the other end. And when that's dried, I'm going to add a few more highlights with the white gel pen. So now I'm going to put just a couple of embellishments onto my lid. So I'm taking the classic label punch. And I'm just cutting a few out. And I'm just going to shorten my label by feeding it back in. And I'm going to make that roughly 1.5 inches long. Like that. And I'm going to fold them in half and then put them onto the corners here. So once you've done that, just pop on some glue and sit them on the corners. And you can save these offcuts to pop into your album later on. So here is our box. Now we're going to move on to the mini album.